Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're back here with another match preview today. Stockport County take on Plymouth Argyle. This upcoming weekend we're making the long journey down to Devon, home park, and we're going to be taking on Plymouth Argyle, who have had a bit of a difficult start to life in League One, I think it's fair to say. Of course, relegated from the Championship last season, despite an FA Cup giant-killing win over Liverpool. It's been a tough few months for Argyle, and despite hopes of a strong return to the Championship, it's just not started well for them in League One. So let's start this preview by having a quick look at the League One table. As you can see there, Cardiff City have started the season in League One in fantastic form, 16 points from the first 6 league matches. Stevenage have not started too badly themselves, neither Bradford City, who've done really well since coming up from League 2. Barnsley, Doncaster and Huddersfield also strong starts as well. Both Hatters just outside the playoffs currently. AFC Wimbledon currently 12th place. In the bottom half of the table, you can find the likes of Plymouth Argyle down there, but you can also find the likes of Blackpool, Wycombe Wanderers, and of course Port Vale and Peterborough United. It hasn't been a strong start to the season for those teams, of course. Disappointing, I think many fans will feel, those clubs. But look, let's talk about Plymouth, let's talk about Stockport County. We're going to start by talking a little bit about Stockport County. And of course, Wigan Athletic, who we took on last weekend. We also took on last Tuesday as well. And the goal they scored, Wigan Athletic's 78th minute equaliser last week, was County's 7th goal conceded in League One so far this season. The goal did mean that County have kept just one clean sheet in each of their last 13 league matches. That dates back to our 2-0 win over Exeter in April, which was also an away match, and it's not a million miles away from Plymouth, of course. So obviously the clean sheet on opening day against Bolton, but the last one before that was Exeter away in April last season. Hell of a long time, and it doesn't make great reading for our defence and our goalkeepers, I've got to be honest. But of course, Stockport County did pick up a draw in that game last weekend against Wigan. It finished 1-1 at a DW. Plymouth come into this fixture with just one win from their opening 6 League One matches, 5 defeats. Tom Cleverley's side only other win this season before Tuesday night came against QPR in the Carabao Cup first round, winning 3-2. Argyle were knocked out in the second round on penalties to Swansea City, and then of course they were beaten by 4 goals last Saturday to Swans rivals Cardiff City, but they did pick up their 3rd win of the season in all competitions when beating Cheltenham 2-0 in the Virtue Trophy on Tuesday night. Of course, Stockport County also picked up a midweek win in the Virtue Trophy when hosting Wolves under-21s at Edgeley Park up against a familiar face in Alfie Pond, who spent the first half at the 23-24 season on loan at Stockport County. County did come out as 5-3 winners in that game. Wolves did initially lead though 2-0, I think it was, after 15 minutes. And it wasn't a great start for Stockport County, but more in particular, it wasn't a great start for Brad Hills, who found himself done with that run once again, just being found out, just that inside run, just not tracking, just switched off. And I think we've seen it a few times now. We saw it happen in the sending off against Burton as well, where he's just, he switched off for a second and then he's found himself trying to catch up, and we know he doesn't have the pace, and then he ends up either the goal goes in or he ends up, in the case of Burton, committing a foul and being sent off for it. So Hills hasn't started the season very well since he's come back on a permanent, and it is a little bit worrying. But yeah, it wasn't a great start for Hills in that game, and I don't think he had a great game altogether, to be fair. But yeah, so certainly not one to remember for Brad Hills. Luis Fiorini though, he had a little bit of a shine, and in that game, a superb pass to assist Nathan Lowe. I think he got another assist as well. But of course, we can't talk about this game without talking about the 16-year-old who is now County's all-time youngest goal scorer, and that is Joe Assels, who of course scored 2 off the bench to grab County the win, and he looks like a real prospect. 2 really good finishers, 2 really calm, composed finishers, and it's a player grabbing an opportunity in a cup game, which is what we've been wanting the likes of Fiorini to do for some time, and he coming off the bench and he's done it straight away and he got us that win. And whilst the EFL Trophy or the Virtue Trophy might not be the biggest of competitions for Stockport County, it's certainly a big moment for him, and I think it's a really great opportunity for him, and I think everyone knows who he is now. Who's a Stockport County fan. We all are aware of the name, and I think he's put himself. He's certainly done his chances no harm of getting himself a little bit more recognition What does that mean for him on Saturday? Are we getting carried away by suggesting he, possibly should have a place on the bench? Who knows? Because I certainly think he should be on the bench on Saturday. When you look at some of the players recently that found themselves on the bench for Stockport County who haven't performed, haven't taken their opportunities in cup games. This is a 16-year-old lad that has done that, and I think we should reward that. That should be a message to everyone. If you take those games by the scruff of the neck, you get an opportunity, and I think for him it would be a real opportunity to get himself on the bench on Saturday. I'm not sure if he will do that, to be fair, but it's something I certainly won't be opposed to happening. So we got that 5-3 win over Wolves on the 21s. Look, 5 goals scored, positive. Nathan Lowe getting 2, Fiorini getting 2 assists. The young lad getting 2 goals, all positives. But the negatives that you can't hide behind is the fact that we conceded 3 goals and we had Olowu playing in a back three alongside Hills, who are, the first team players. So that is a concern. But anyway, moving on to, I suppose, even more negatives in a way, a poor week in Wigan. It will be interesting to see who Challoner goes with on Saturday, to be fair. But obviously we were active on deadline day. We brought Jida KK went out on loan to Walsall. He did score in his debut for Walsall as well, which I thought was interesting. Jay Mingy also went out on loan, completing a move to Crewe Alexandra. But County also brought in 1 or 2 of their own as well. Tyler ONYANGO, who's been rumoured to have come in pretty much all summer. He finally got that move on loan on deadline day, coming in on loan from Everton for the 25-26 season. I think his contract's up as well at the end of this season, so potentially if it goes well, County could put themselves in the mix to potentially look at signing him on a permanent. But let's not get too carried away. Let's see how it goes for him, because he come on loan last season, he wasn't great, he had 1 or 2 good games and he got injured, so certainly want to keep an eye out on him. And I think the opportunity is there to sign on a permanent should he impress. But then if he does impress, there'll be loads of other teams in for him as well, and if his contract's up, he'll have a lot of options. So he's coming, that's a positive. We needed someone in that kind of area. I guess he can play as a right back. I think he can play as a right centre back, and he can also play in midfield. So it'd be interesting to see what he can offer us this season. But our business wasn't done there. We did announce 1 more player, and that was Ben Osborne, who's coming on loan from Derby. That was actually announced 2 hours after the transfer deadline had closed. And I suppose my question is, will both feature at the weekend? Because you've got, ONYANGO there, who can play right back or right centre back and in midfield. But then you've got Ben Osborne, who is a midfielder but can also play at left back or left wing back. So we've covered both sides of the pitch by, in terms of wing back positions, by bringing those 2 players in. But we've also brought in 2 players that can play midfield, and I think that's where we've looked really weak in the first few games of the season, particularly since Camps has been injured, and especially with Bate having not even featured yet this season. I think that has been the weak point for Stockport County. And I guess my question is, will both of these 2 players feature, against Plymouth on Saturday? For me, ordinarily, you would say, okay, they need time to settle in. They might not be fully at it, but considering how poor we've looked in the midfield of late and how easy we look to be overrun, I don't think it's a risk to look at throwing potentially both these players in. Okay, so here's my starting 11 then for Plymouth Argyle on Saturday. Of course, I'm going to go with Corey Adai in goal. I'm going to go with a back 3 once again, because although I think it's probably an issue for us at this moment in time, it does seem quite negative. I would prefer us to play a 4 at the back. We're just not going to change. We are going to keep with that 3 at the back at the moment. But if we can play that 3 at the back and almost make it look like a 4 at times, like we did a little bit against Wigan in the first half on Saturday, where Hills looked like he was sort of playing sort of right back and Danny Andrew was playing on the other side as a more of a sort of left wing back or left back. I just think that Hills, he's not got the pace to play as in a wide position. If you're playing as a sort of wide centre back, you've got to be quick. You've got to have the ability to get out quick. He doesn't have that, and nor does he have the pace to go up and down as a right back. And in a game, typically 9 times out of 10, you're going to face a team that's got pace in behind. That's a weakness for Hills. I think Hills would be better suited playing as in the middle of a back 3. But the problem with that is, I also think we've got the same issue with Callum Connolly. I think Callum Connolly suits playing in the middle of a back 3. I think that he had games last season where he looked not quite at it, mainly because he had the same issue as Hills. He's not quick enough at getting out in a back 3. So I think we've got 2 players in Connolly and Hills that both suit playing as a middle centre back. And if I'm going to go off form so far this season, I'm picking Connolly over Hills in that position. So I'm going with a back 3 of Connolly in the middle, Ethan Pye on the left, and Joseph Olowu on the right, who I do think has looked good so far. Tyler ONYANGO gets in for me on that sort of right back / right wing back position. Then I've gone with Norwood in midfield, and I've gone with Ben Osborne in midfield alongside Ollie Norwood. They both played together at Sheffield United. And yeah, it is also a player that can cover left back. So I've gone with Dodson because he did play the first half on Tuesday, then he was subbed off. I think that's with Saturday in mind. But given that Osborne can play left back or left wing back, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Dodson is actually on the bench and Osborne starts as a left wing back, allowing Moxon to join Norwood in midfield. Then I think we're looking at Jaden Fevre from the right. Obviously the goal last Saturday, but also just think he's the best option we've got right now in this moment in time on the right hand side. Then I'm going to go with Jack Diamond on the left, and then I'm going to go, of course, with Kyle Woodson down the middle. Didn't have one of his best games on Saturday, despite the assist early on, but to be fair, this moment in time, he's probably the best player that we can play there, despite Nathan Lowe getting 2 goals on on Tuesday, and he will be confident going into this game. I think he would be a stronger option off the bench for us. So there we go then, that is my thoughts on who should start for Stockport County against Plymouth on Saturday. I do want to get your thoughts on your starting 11 in the comment section below, of course, as always. But look, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's actually going to be a really tough game because Plymouth have had a tough start to the season. That means they're a wounded animal. They lost 4-0 last Saturday. And you just look at it, and it's not a team I want to face at the moment because they will have quality. And look, yes, they've had a bad start to the season. Of course they have, but a bad start to the season doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a bad season. I think Leeds Orient lost, the first 4 games last season, and they still finished in the playoffs, and they were considered to be a top team in League One. So just because Plymouth have had a bad start, they're just waiting for that one game that's going to turn around their season, and I don't want it to be on Saturday. So as much as some people might come into this game going, "Oh, easy 3 points, Plymouth, bottom, near the bottom of the table in poor form, we should win that easily," I don't agree. I do think it'll be a tougher game for us than people think, and yeah, it's a tough game, but also as well for them, they'll be looking at it on the flip side of it and saying, County will be a tough game. It's not the game they want. 3rd place in League One last season. They've still won. We've still won 3 games in League One already this season, so that they won't want to face us. But we also shouldn't want to. We shouldn't take them lightly either. So I don't think we should be disrespecting the opposition. I do expect a tougher game than people think. And obviously, County haven't been at their best so far this season either. In fact, County ranks 2nd for expected goals conceded this season. So basically, the opposite of expected goals. Expected goals means you're creating good opportunities, and that you should really be taking them. Expected goals conceded means we're probably not conceded as many as we probably should have done. So we're 2nd for that. In fact, we're just behind Blackpool, who have conceded 13 league goals this season, and they're 20th place currently. So the fact we're 2nd for expected goals conceded, it's not a sign of it. It's not a sign of where you want to be. It's not a position which a team like us, with the ambitions we have, which should want to be in, and that just needs to be fixed pretty quick. The defence hasn't been great so far this season, and we do need to look a little bit more confident when defending. County have not faced Plymouth since January 2004, when Argyle won 2-0 at Edgeley Park, and this Saturday's visit to home park will be our first since August 2003, when we were beaten 3-1. County's last win over Plymouth came at Edgeley Park in April 2003. Dave Chalmers started in the Hatters 2-1 win as Aaron Wilbraham and John Daly both scored for Stockport County that day, and the Hatters' last win at home park came in a 2-0 win on the 28th of March 1995. Now, to put that into context, our main striker, Kyle Woodson, he wasn't even born when we won that game. So in terms of score prediction for Saturday, like I say, I do expect it to be a tougher game than people think it will be, but I am still going to back us to win, and I am going to go with that predictable 2-1 County win. So I do want to get your thoughts in the comment section below on everything going into this game. I want to get your starting 11, who you think should play, who you think shouldn't play. What should we do about the young lad, Joe Assel, who got 2 goals? Should he be on the bench this weekend, or is that over the top? Should we look to start both the deadline day signings? And also I want your score prediction as well. So don't forget to get your thoughts in the comment section as always. Like the video if you have enjoyed it. Big thanks for watching. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, see you in the next one.